You guys continue to have so many pendulum questions, and I'm here to answer them. So stick around and let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Veronica, and welcome back to the Wholeness Shift. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. And if you're returning, you're already part of the family, welcome back. I talk about easy, practical spirituality, the pendulum, aliens, navigating your spiritual awakening. You name it, we talk about it here. And I try to make it as simple and easy to work into your everyday life as I can. So if these things interest you, hit the subscribe button below because I wouldn't want you to miss out on anything good. And make sure you hit the little bell icon because I've been a little shadow banned lately and YouTube is not letting people know when I post things. So hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. So recently I mentioned in a video and I put on my Instagram that I'm going to be doing this pendulum update video answering your questions. Because although I already have a whole playlist on my channel for pendulum use, and I've already done this a few times, the questions still continue to roll in. And boy, you guys did not disappoint. I got pages and pages and pages of questions. And so I think this is actually going to be a 2 or 3 part series. I think I'm going to do 7 of them today, maybe a couple more videos after that. Anyways, so that's the plan. So if you continue to have questions, send them to me, email them to me, leave them in the comments, send them on Instagram or Facebook, send me a message. However you can get to me, leave me your question and I'll address it in one of the future videos. All right, let's get started. First of all, what is a pendulum? What am I talking about? A pendulum is typically a crystal of some sort hanging on the end of a chain. It swings, and you can use it to communicate with your spirit guides, with the angels, with your ancestors. Sky's the limit. So people have questions regarding the use of this. Now, as I said earlier, I already have a whole playlist on my channel of videos about using the pendulum. Okay, very long ones, very short ones. I go into pretty great depth on this topic. And so if this is something you're seriously interested in pursuing, it might be in your best interest to set aside a couple of hours and just watch through all the ones that you haven't seen yet, because it will probably answer all of your questions. Okay? All right. Number 1, do I have to speak out loud to my spirit guides when I'm using the pendulum, or will they hear my thoughts if I just talk in my mind? No, you don't have to speak out loud. Words are just the embodiment of the energy of your thoughts, if that makes sense. And so they actually pick up on what you're saying before your mouth can even speak the words, because thoughts are energy, and energy moves so much quicker than the human body. So all you have to do is think it in your head. They are already hearing you, and they'll be answering you. Don't have to speak out loud. Number 2, can I use a pendulum to find any lost items? Technically, yes. However, it's not always accurate because just like with other forms of spirit communication, it depends on your vibrational level or of the person using the pendulum. So potentially yes, potentially no. Depends on how interested your guides are in helping you find that thing. So yes, but I would not bank your life on it. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Number 3. Is it possible that I'm moving the pendulum with my subconscious mind? Yes, that's possible. I have another video where I spoke specifically about this topic and I go into more depth on that. So I will link to that below if you want to go watch that. But really this answer depends on, there are various factors that go into this answer. Like, how attached are you to the outcome of this answer? If you're using your pendulum and you ask your guides a question and you're sitting there going, please say yes, please say yes, please say yes, please say yes, it's probably going to say yes. You affected that answer. You're too attached to the outcome. The best thing to do is to remove any attachment that you have to that answer. Try to completely remove your mind from the equation. Try to have an open mind, an open heart, be detached from the answer, have no expectations about what it's going to say, and just try to keep a blank mind and allow it to answer on its own. It also depends, as I speak about in the other video, on what limiting beliefs you already have in place. If you've been taught by somebody that your pendulum is merely your subconscious mind, you're going to have that limiting belief on there, and that's what's going to happen for you. Law of attraction, you manifested that. If I believe that I can talk to anybody in the world that I want, or the universe or the galaxy, you know what I'm saying, then I can. Like, I came to this practice with absolutely zero preconceived notions of what this was going to look like. I knew nothing about spirituality. I had no idea what a spirit guide was. I didn't know about using the pendulum. And so therefore, nobody had ever told me that I couldn't talk to anybody I wanted to. So I just assumed I could. And guess what? I can. You can. Of course you can. It's just like a telephone. Dial up whoever you want, and if they are available to talk, chances are they'll probably talk to you. Number 4. What if the answers don't make sense? Is the pendulum not working, or is it my vibrations? You already know what I'm going to say. You already know. It is probably your vibrations. As I've said many times, the pendulum is merely a tool. It's the same as using this telephone. It is merely a tool. It's like using a pen to write on paper. It's like using the telephone to call somebody. Years ago, it would have been like a telegram, you know, the thing that sends the telegrams. That's it. It is a tool. You connect to whoever you're wanting to talk to through this. So while these can like collect energy, they may need cleansed or charged sometimes, but really this is never broken. It is always a matter of your vibrations that are going to determine how clearly the information is coming through, how accurate the information is coming through, and what kind of entity you are connecting to. Don't ever assume that just because you are connecting to some kind of being talking to you through this, even if they get a couple of questions right, you think you can test them with some questions and they get them right, don't assume that that being has good intentions for you. If your vibrations are low, law of attraction states you are going to attract low vibrating beings. So you may be connecting to something, but it's probably going to be an entity in the lower astral realms that, I mean, in human terms, we would just call them evil. They're not going to be good. So your vibrations are either so low that like you're not connecting at all, or you're going to connect to something negative. It's always your vibes. Now, if it's in need of a good cleansing or charging, it may work, but it may be a little sluggish. If you actually have high vibes, but in that moment you don't, meaning that like I've been meditating every single day for years. I try to avoid things that would lower my vibes. I try to proactively keep my frequency higher because I know that benefits me in so many ways. However, if it's the end of the day, I'm exhausted, or if I've just had an argument with someone, which is rare, but it happens, if I've been really sick, there are a number of reasons, if I'm dehydrated, if there are a number of reasons why in that moment my energy could be low, and therefore it's not smart for me to use this because that makes me vulnerable too. So even if on a broader spectrum your vibes are high, you can have moments of low energy that affect how it communicates. And that leaves you vulnerable to either connecting with something negative, or you can connect to your guide, but you'll get really jumbled messages that don't make sense, or they're wrong, or they're spelled funny. Or I go into way more detail about this in my very first pendulum video, like how to use a pendulum or pendulum for beginners, something like that. I will link to that below. And I will also link to a video I've done on how to raise your vibrations, if you're interested in that. Number 5. How can you be sure that only positive things are communicating with you? Well, I will also link to a video that I've done where I talk in depth about this. But in a nutshell, it's the same way that you know that anyone you're communicating with is trustworthy. You know, if you're dating and you meet someone new, you go on a date, do they give you red flags? Do they say things that are like offensive? Do the things that they say, you find out that they're lying? Words aren't matching action type of thing. How do you know that you can trust a coworker? How do you know that you can trust your spouse? It is a relationship that's built over time, and you build a rapport. You get to know the personality of your guides, and you see what they have to say, and is it trustworthy? Does what they say is going to happen actually end up happening? I mean, you have to get to know the situation. You know, if you went out on the street and you saw a stranger sitting on the, standing on the street corner, and you're like, here, hold my phone, I'll be back. Or here, you know what, my wallet's bulky, can you hold my wallet? Or this baby's getting on my nerves, I'm going to run home and use the restroom, can you just hold my baby? No. And then when they like steal your stuff or kidnap your baby and you're shocked, like, oh, I had no idea they wouldn't be trustworthy. Like, why would you trust them? You don't know them. You don't know anything about them. Why would you trust them? And it's the same thing with your pendulum. Like, you can't just place all your eggs in that basket and be like, they said that they're my guide. Woo, I met my guide and they told me all kinds of stuff. Girl, I'm going to be hitting the lottery. My ex-husband's going to drop dead. You don't know. Why do you trust them? You don't know anything about them. And on another level deeper, this is a good opportunity for you to practice tapping into your intuition, because you shouldn't be depending on the pendulum. Okay, you should not be depending on external sources. It's okay to consult, but you should not be depending on external sources to make decisions, to live your life. Okay, tap into your gut. Tap into your intuition. Number 6. I've done everything you said, but I'm still getting wrong answers. What am I doing wrong? Well, first of all, this all feeds back into what I just spent time talking about needing to raise your vibrations. It takes more than manipulating the external things in your environment, like making sure your pendulum's charged and saying a prayer and smudging and all those things. I mean, they're all important. I'm not dismissing the importance of those things, but it takes more than that. And there's actually another video that I made answering that question and talking way more about that. And I will link to that below. But basically, you can't set the stage and have it be pristine and then bring yourself filthy dirty to the table, energetically speaking. So raise your vibes. Try again. And by raising your vibes, they don't just mean for an afternoon. Or like, I meditated twice, my vibes are good to go. No, you may have to meditate for 2 months, 2 years, depending on how low you were to begin with. Got some work to do, sis. Raise your vibes. Try again. That's all you can do. Try again. The wind is horrible outside, and it's blowing my pergola roof like crazy. It blew the brackets loose, and so now the wind blows. It's just like bang, bang, bang. Fun. Number 7, is it a good idea to use the pendulum to ask questions about other people? No, not really. That's my opinion. And by other people, I don't know if you mean for other people, as in you're doing a reading for someone, or about other people, as in you just nosy. You need to mind your business. Up in here, we mind our business. So I will address both of those situations. First of all, if you're just being nosy and you're like, did her boyfriend cheat on her? Is that why they broke up? Who did he cheat with? Because you just want to be a gossiper. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna, first of all, the intention of that situation is very low vibe. That's very ugly. So what's gonna happen if you come to the table with low vibe, ugly intentions? Who are you gonna connect with? It's not gonna be high vibe, divine things, right? Second of all, you're not gonna get accurate information because whether some people agree with it or not, I firmly believe and have been told that there is spiritual privacy, at least to a certain extent. It's like spiritual HIPAA. If you live in the United States, you know what HIPAA is, privacy laws, and there is spiritual HIPAA, okay? So no guides or divine beings are going to participate in that ugly, malicious, low vibe conversation with you. You can get plenty of tricksters feeding you garbage, but you're not going to get any divine answers. Now, the second scenario, what if you're trying to help someone and you're doing a reading for someone? Like, they're like, can you connect to my grandma? Well, why don't they connect to their grandma? They could do it for themselves. But even if you're the one doing it and you're like, sure, this all comes back to vibrations. Every one of these conversations comes back to your frequency level. Where are you on the energy scale? Because this is a very good, easy opportunity for tricksters to jump in the mix, start wreaking havoc, and feeding you garbage. So, I've had someone, me. I remember when I was new to this, and I've talked many times about how I haven't been able to connect with my dad since he passed because he's in the resting place. And I will link to a video about that below if you want to know what I'm talking about. But I remember asking to connect, and I was told, you can't connect because your dad is burning in hell. And I was just like, eh. Now I know that's completely garbage. But at the time I didn't know better. So especially if you are taking on the responsibility of assisting someone else or doing a reading for someone else, make sure that your vibrations are in a place that you can get accurate, consistent information for them, okay? That would be the kind, right thing to do. And on top of that, you want to make sure that you are detached from the outcome, and so are they, okay? Your job is to develop your intuition, and if you haven't done a whole lot of that to know when something coming through doesn't feel good, I think that you would probably want to practice a little bit more and get a little bit more discerning and, work on that discernment, work on your intuition so that you can know when something coming through doesn't feel right. And, that way you don't give them a bunch of baloney information. Also, whether you're doing this little mini reading or you're going to someone for a reading, you're going to a medium, you're going to a psychic, you're going to a tarot reader, whatever the case may be, you need to be discerning and you need to have that internal GPS working so that you can tell if the information they're giving you is complete garbage. Because how do you know? Just because they're connecting to someone and they're getting somewhat accurate information sometimes, you don't know what their vibrations are at. You don't know who they're actually connecting to. You don't know if who they're actually connecting to is some lower astral being that is just out for a good time to mess with you and to scare you or to tell you a bunch of junk that isn't true. You don't know. So if you don't have your intuition on point, you need to be very detached from the information coming to you and just take it all with a grain of salt. Okay? Take it all with a grain of salt. See what comes to fruition and what doesn't. Be like, that was interesting. I wonder if that's true. Don't bank on it. There is nothing ever that should come through a pendulum, a tarot card, a psychic medium, etc., that you take with 100% fact accuracy, banking my life on it, making major life decisions on this. Don't do that. That's just unwise. You have all the answers within you. Go within, see what feels right. All right, you guys, I hope this helps. That was our very first installment of pendulum questions, and more to come for sure. So if you have any more questions, let me know. And if you think that this would help somebody, share this video, like it, subscribe, share, all the things. And I'll talk to you very soon.